5th edition, Dungeons & Dragons. Quote from page 194. If the d20 roll for an attack is a 1, the attack misses, regardless of any modifiers or the target's AC. Period. End sentence. That's it. Nothing else happens. You do not bury your sword in a brick 5 feet from your character. You do not fling it across the battlefield way over your enemies' heads. You do not hit your friend. You do not hit yourself. You just miss. Got it? Hi, my name is Sean Sullivan. This is Off the Rails with Failroad Express. Thank you very much for watching. Alright, obviously we're talking about tabletop games, but a very specific kind of tabletop games. A tabletop RPG. And the example that I have is 5th edition D&D right here. I really like the game. I've played it a bunch of different times, but really my gripes with these kinds of systems are universal, at least for the D20s. And that is rolling a 1 for the critical miss. That so many times I see these homebrews that people have where something horrible and terrible happens to a character just because they rolled a 1. And here's the thing, to some of you that might seem reasonable. I mean, come on. I mean, it's not going to happen all the time. It's just a 1 out of 20. I mean, it's not going to happen a whole lot. But you know what that is? It's 5%. 5% chance. But what most people don't realize is that statistically, the more dice that you roll for something, the more likely you are to hit a certain number. So it's not a 5% chance. If you roll 2 dice, that number increases, and it increases exponentially beyond that. So if you roll 5 dice, you're very likely, you have something like a 20% chance in many cases, more like 16.5, whatever, a percent chance of rolling a 1. So you have this crazy thing where if you roll more dice in a single turn, you're more likely to roll a 1 than somebody who rolls 1 dice. And so because of that, you could have, I don't know, say a level 20 fighter who rolls 5 dice in 1 turn, and a level 1 fighter, and the level 20 fighter has a greater chance of having a horrible, huge mistake if you're playing by these stupid, dumb rules. What the hell? Why do you think that works? Why would anybody think that works? Do you think that there's a 5% chance for everybody to do this? It's not even realistic, which most people argue. They're like, oh, well, what if it's dark and you've got like bad footing and somebody's like swinging a sword at you? And it's like, if you're level 20, you are a professional. You do this for a living. This is what you do. This is the thing that not only is this what you do for a living, this is what you're best at. You're one of the best at. You're like a god king among men. You've got crazy things that you do at level 20 that's like firing lasers out of your eyes. You're just a badass. So why the hell do you have this stupid rule stapled onto you, turning what should be a really powerful character into just a blithering idiot? It turns a group of high-level characters into the Three Stooges. It's ridiculous. Okay, like imagine this. If for every 20 planes that the U.S. Army threw out, the best army, the only one that really counts in the world, the U.S. Army sends out 20 planes, one of them explodes in the hangar. Come on. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. It has problems, but it doesn't have some sort of catastrophic failure that there's no recovering from. You can always, things get broken, things get fixed, and there's wear and tear, and things happen. But very, very rarely does it happen. It's not 5%. It's nowhere near 5%. This is the government we're talking about. It's mind-boggling how anybody thinks that this is realistic. And look. To everybody else who's saying, Sean, but it's fun. It adds a different layer onto it and everything. Maybe it's not realistic, but, we enjoy having some of these things happen sometimes. It really heightens the tension. Okay, fine. I agree. It can liven up some of the stuff. But I offer this one little change to your little dumb house rule. And yes, it's a little dumb house rule. And that's to confirm it. Okay? Now what that means is that I take 2 dice. Okay? You see? 2 dice for when... And if I roll one on one of the dice, okay? I rolled a 1. Okay, and let's say the number that I was trying to hit was 15. You roll another dice. And as long as you can get it with the rest of your modifiers and make it up to it, then you just miss. If you get too low and you're not able to meet the target number, then have it be a critical fail. But only then. So that way, it still can happen, but it'll only happen when you're doing something that you were most likely to fail anyway. So then it has a greater risk attached to it, which is good and works and makes things better, rather than just treating everyone like they're an absolute imbecile who should spend the rest of their lives in a padded room rather than going out and adventuring and killing dragons and fighting beholders. It's ridiculous how people hold on to this kind of stuff. And, speaking of dumb rolls, the other thing is I don't like, for like 90% of the time, I don't like rolling dice for your ability scores. Because here's the thing. I've only seen, personally, four things that happen. And that is, number 1, God amongst men. One person is just the best. They rolled just amazingly well. Everybody else is maybe kind of normal, but this person is just the absolute king. They rolled amazingly on every score. They're great in nearly everything, and they just end up dominating the game and making it so that everybody just kind of feels underpowered. Number 2, everybody rolls that well. Everybody rolls so amazing that there's absolutely no basis that the DM can do in order to try to get anything to fight these guys, because they're just so great. They've got way more hit points. You got a wizard over here with 18 constitution, and you're like, what am I doing with my life? And it's just, it just ends up being kind of ridiculous, because at the end of the day, you might as well just had a bunch of regular standard array characters rather than have these, great big heroes. The other one is that one guy rolls terribly. One guy he cannot, maybe he's lucky if he has an ability score above an 11. And there's no bonuses. Everything's bad. Everything's terrible. And he's just there to kill himself and get out of it. It's like everybody knows he shouldn't be here. Everybody knows he's got no business adventuring with the rest of the party. And the fourth one is the only one I've seen that's actually been kind of fun. And that's when everyone rolls bad. Because, and bear with me, because it's the only time it's ever been fun. Because if everyone's terrible, then suddenly it's like the whole game is on the hard setting. And it's like you're fighting maybe a couple imps that for a regular party would be just a breeze, and this is just, they just wreck you. Then you might have somebody die to just a couple of kobolds or just a couple little tiny things, and every single victory is like, yes, thank God, thank the will of the dice. We barely managed to survive that terrible ordeal, and it's like you get the feeling that you're just like a couple of villagers who picked up some sticks and stuff and started calling themselves adventurers. It's absolutely ridiculous, but it's the only one that's any fun. And my whole point about this is that you kind of want to have everybody be around the same level or around the same, scores on that, because if, as long as you have that, it's good. You can make it work. But the moment that you have this kind of balance shift and whatnot, it feels off. You end up having somebody take the spotlight too much, and you end up having somebody who's good at everything and can do all this stuff, and it ends up having a lot of tension between the players. Now, I admit, some groups it can work fine, but I'm not talking about some groups. I'm talking about the majority of groups, okay? So why don't you go ahead and add that little asterisk next to everything instead of trying to pick me apart like this is the friggin' hair splitters convention, okay? Now, get out of here, the guy who keeps doing that. Yeah, you. You! Beat it! Get out of here! All right. So that's all I've got to say about this. I know I'm talking about D&D 5e, but really this applies to like Pathfinder, all the rest of the D&D 3.5, all the rest of that stuff. And to all of you out there who are going to do this anyway and are just like, oh, well, we've been doing it this way forever, and we're just going to keep doing it. You're what's wrong with the world today, and get bent. This has been Sean Sullivan with Off the Rails, and goodbye.